Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode. I am so pleased to be sharing this interview with you, and I know that you're really going to enjoy it. Now, this woman, Kris, and we've done an interview swap, and so she will definitely be sharing about her show. So you can go and listen to our conversation, which will have some parallels, but you can go and listen to that over in her area as well. But let me tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Kris Jones, and she was hand selected as a mentee by StoryBrand's Donald Miller. And she's cracked the code on turning expertise into sales. After 20 years of crafting stories for some of those big giants like Nike and Adidas, she discovered something shocking. A single, well told story can replace all your marketing and double your revenue. Like, Kris, we almost don't even need to talk about anything else but that, right? So
Right.
today she helps coaches and consultants scale from 30K to $300,000 months using her signature story selling system, trademark, proving that you don't need endless content or complicated funnels to attract premium clients. Just one story told well. I love that last line. So, Kris, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here.
Candy, I am thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Now, this thing about stories, like when I start to think about story, especially these days, I'm always reminded the power of a story, like from hundreds of years ago when we didn't have electricity and we used to sort of sit around the campfire or sit around the cooking fire and tell stories for entertainment and connection and for history and just so much. What are your thoughts on that, the power of story?
Humans are wired for story. I mean, we're really wired for it. And so, in my opinion, it is the most effective way to create connection, to really help somebody understand what you're talking about, to teach. It's a really powerful tool for clarity. Stories filter out the noise and they keep only the essentials to what makes a good story work. And that's really one of the biggest parts of the work that I do as coaches and business owners. We've got so many ideas in our minds all the time. Like, what about this? What about that? I should probably communicate this. Um, and it can be really hard to decipher what is really the treasure, what's the golden thread of my story, and what's the clutter and what's the noise. And a well-told story filters out that noise and really keeps that golden thread, that really core essence. And when people hear your story, whether it's on your website or on a podcast or wherever you show up online, they connect with it. They can't wait to they fully engage with it and they can't wait to kind of allow it to unfold and see what happens. You know how it feels when someone says, "Let me tell you a story." Like it just all of a sudden we're like like focused, engage a story. We just we love stories and they're incredibly powerful. And there's a lot of psychology that goes into story, which is another reason why I love it so much.
Hmm. And it's interesting because as I'm thinking about coaching and what coaches like to do, coaches like to connect with people, have this human to human connection, and really make an impact on somebody's life, a transformation through a conversation so that that client, that other person, finds something new within themselves and then can go forward. And there really seems like a parallel there between story and coaching. Like the intent is very similar. What do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of meta, because stories are really all about transformation. They always begin with a hero that has a problem, and that hero doesn't know how to solve their problem. And so they're out and about, looking for a guide, and a guide enters into the story about a third of the way through. And that guide is the coach, right? The coach is the guide, steps in, and the coaches help their heroes find transformation, find success, overcome their struggles. And so coaches are like the most beautiful representation of a powerful, strong, sturdy guide.
Yeah, I love that. There was something that you said in the bio that I read, and it really struck me as I was reading it. And it's this idea that a single well told story can replace all of your marketing and double your revenue. I, double your revenue, great. Like, that's sort of
Yeah,
the result of it. But it says
yeah.
can replace all your marketing. Talk a little bit about that. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, the wonderful thing about when you take the time to get clear on your story, and when I talk about story, I just want to clarify, I'm not talking about your story as far as like your upbringing or, how you got into business. It's not a founder's story. What we're talking about is a narrative that your business has, a narrative that invites your potential clients into a story with you, a story where they play that central character of the hero and you play the character of the guide. So that's the story that I'm talking about. And when you implement a story like that on your website, when people come to your website, they feel good. It feels like a warm hug. They appreciate that you're not forcing their brain to burn calories to figure out what it is that you do. You've done the work and you're clearly communicating what you do, and you're clearly showing them that you understand their struggles and that you care about their success. It really does feel like they're being held through the page. So, for example, the story that lives on your website, that's I kind of think of that as your core story because I think your website really should be your most powerful selling tool, and you should be able to just send people to your website knowing it's going to convert new clients for you. So we start with that story, but that same story that we craft, we never have to reinvent it. The reason that you can have one story work for all your marketing is because a good story works like an accordion. There are wider, longer versions of it. Medium versions of it might be like a video script, might be the medium version, and then a shorter version might be what I call your one-liner or your elevator pitch. Longer version might be website or podcast interview. But the idea is it expands and contracts depending on where it lives and depending on how you're using it. Social media profiles, for example, you have a limited amount of characters that you can put in there. So we have a short version of your story there. And then in your social media posts, you've got a lot more real estate. So you can go into a longer story in those.
Mm. There was one thing that you said about that this is a narrative, but it's actually a narrative about the listener or the reader, and the coach is actually the guide. Now, I work with a lot of newer coaches, and many of them really early in the journey. I'm suggesting they don't start with a website because there's no point until they've actually worked with clients, my opinion. But when it is time for them to have a website, that's a very different perspective than most people who are building a website. How
Mhm.
can, what kind of tips could you give them to get started on that path?
Well, a lot of coaches, when they're just getting started, right? When do they get to the point where they're like, okay, I need a website, I need a presence online? They go to Wix, they go to Squarespace or whatever builder, and they click on buy a website, choose a beautiful template, and then fill in the blanks. They fill in the paragraphs. And the problem with that is, I mean, I'm a big fan of Wix, I'm a big fan of Squarespace, but the problem with that is that the templates that they provide for you really position you as the hero of your own story. And so it might be beautiful, but it's not effective.
Mm.
Those builders, they're in the business of building what I call a brochure website. a brochure website is informational. It's not a story. It doesn't connect. It doesn't convert new clients for you. Whereas an effective website that tells a story is really going to draw in those right fit clients and get them excited about working with you. So essentially, when you follow a template and you don't infuse strategy and storytelling into your website, it kind of ends up sitting there like a bump on a log. And then a year goes by and you think back and you go, not one client has come to me through my website. Why isn't it working? I followed the template. It's pretty. I have a professional photo. What's not working? And that's why.
Mm. And so when the effect is that when a visitor arrives at the website, it looks all pretty and shiny, but they don't feel connected or seen or heard. And so then because there's no connection, they don't feel motivated or
Hmm.
inspired
Hmm.
or encouraged to actually reach out.
Right. I mean, people don't want to work with the best, actually. They want to work with the one they feel the most connected to.
Right.
And so we have to take the time to connect with them when you're the hero of your own story, when your website is all about you and not about your potential client. You are the hero of your own story, and there's only room for one hero in every story. So what happens is a lot of this is subconscious. They come to your website, they land on it, and they can't envision themselves working with you because you've already taken that role as the hero. And there are a couple reasons we don't want to be the hero. Number one, the hero is the weakest character in the story. The guide is the strongest. So
Okay.
we really want to position ourselves as the guide because we truly are the guide. We really do provide that transformation for our client. And number two, you kick them out of the story. And so they will very likely just come to your website, stay for a few seconds, and then leave. And they don't even know why they left. They just know, this isn't this, I'm not feeling it, right? There's no connection here. I can't understand what they're doing, or they're just not, they're not the person that I want to work with. And that happens a lot. And we don't even know how often it happens.
Hmm. Yeah, there would be no metrics for that, right? I mean, other than
Right.
click away, I don't know what it's called. You would
Yes.
know what it's called, but that
Yeah. Bounce
how long
rate.
does
Yeah.
somebody land? Thank you, bounce rate. How long does somebody
Yeah.
stay there?
Right.
And if that's the website, but then also with infusing your story into your entire marketing, that
Mhm.
goes for the coach who shows up on Instagram or LinkedIn or has a YouTube channel or a podcast as well, right?
100%. What happens when you become aware of story, the power of story, and why you want to tell it in your business, really the lens at which you look at everything changes. All of a sudden, you can identify all the areas in which you're not using story, or all the areas in which you are the hero of your own story. So, like your bio section, it might be all about you right now, but we would shift it. So it's really all about your potential client. So when they read it, they're like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, this is something I'm interested in." Yeah.
And as we're talking, I'm thinking, I better go look at my website. It's missed the boat there. I actually get conversions, but I'm like, I don't think that's set up properly. I have to think about this all over again. I
Yeah.
was not anticipating that our conversation would make a new project for me, but just saying, just saying. So when a new coach is starting out, or it's not just brand new coaches, but a coach who's been around for a while and they
Mhm.
see, oh, I can see the value in using a story approach and placing myself as the guide and the potential client or the reader, listener, watcher as the hero in the journey, where do they
Mhm.
start?
Mm. Well, every story begins with a hero that has a problem they don't know how to solve. So, I mean, I have a freebie about this, which I'm happy to share with your listeners. And it's a 5-minute how to write compelling copy freebie. And this is the best thing you can do to begin to put on that new lens and look at everything in your business with a story driven lens. But the first step is to really think back to your consult calls and the people that you're talking to, the people that you help, and really articulating what are they struggling with. In their words, what are they struggling with? And often as coaches, we realize, oh, our clients are struggling with this, but I know the real issue is this, but we don't want to get into that at this point. We really want to just meet them right where they are, use their language. And when we do that well, so many beautiful things happen. When they read that, they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel not alone in their struggle. And most importantly, they think, oh my gosh, she or he is in my head. They're in my head. If they know my struggle this well, they must be the right one to solve it. And so when we just do that, right? Just there's lots of other things that you can do to tell a really powerful story, but our brains, when a story begins with a problem or when a story begins with a hero's problem, our brains cannot help but engage. We are truly wired for it.
Mm, I love that. And it's also very respectful of the client too, to really be present and to see, I've got air quotes because of course you're creating it, say, on a website and you have no idea exactly who's going to see it. It's also very respectful of, I see that you have that challenge, like it,
Very
yeah. And
validating.
that is
Hmm.
that is super helpful.
Hmm.
There is a piece that it reminds me of. And so this thing is that oftentimes when a coach is saying, what's my niche and what should my coaching program be about, they've often looked at that challenge or skill that they have a skill or they have a challenge that they've overcome or they've helped others overcome, and
Hmm.
now they want to be a coach in that area,
Hmm.
and they so easily forget that they're 3 years down the road. They're
Hmm.
not where they were when they had the challenge. And
Right.
it can be quite difficult to come back to the place of the problem, to go
Hmm.
back to that beginner's mindset,
Mm.
as opposed to, oh, well, I know what the problem was, but I'm still over here in the solved place
Right.
saying the problem, as opposed to
Hmm.
going and standing next to that hero and
Hmm.
just describing it in their language.
Mm. Yeah, I
That
call
can be
that
challenging, right? Like,
it's so hard. It's so hard. There are two reasons why it's so hard to it, there are two reasons why it's so hard. Number one, what you're talking about is called the curse of knowledge. Once we know something, we cannot unlearn it. Like we can't, it's really hard for us to rewind and get back into those beginner shoes. And so we end up using language or talking in ways that are unintentionally over the heads of our potential clients. And we miss this opportunity for connection because we've forgotten what it's like and we can't really rewind. So you have to be very intentional when we tell our story to not, use lingo or talk in ways that that beginner that needs your help is isn't going to connect with. And then the other thing that's really challenging is what I call the bottle effect, which is as coaches, as business owners, we are really inside of the bottle. We're so close to our own business and we're trying to read the label of the bottle from inside the bottle. And when you're trying to write for your own business, nobody is immune to this struggle. I've been on thousands of calls with potential clients. They all struggle with this. And the reality is it's just hard to write about your own business because you're just so close to it. And so people think they have a writing problem or that if they just keep trying harder that somehow they'll break through and find the right messaging when the real problem is really a perspective problem. What people need is somebody to come in with fresh eyes, fresh perspective, a background in storytelling, and to be able to co-create, to collaborate with them and infuse that clarity into their business.
Yeah, I can really see the value of that because you just can't see what you can't see. And you
Right.
can't not know what you already know. That's quite a special skill set to do that, right? Like to actually be able to facilitate that kind of discovery
Yeah.
and to like there's a space holding thing that happens, I'm assuming, with you as well, to kind of bring people back to come back, like come back to the topic here. um
Hmm.
what do you think the biggest challenge that a coach experiences? Is it like, what do you think it is? Like, you've talked about a number of challenges. What's like the one big one?
Well, gosh, I mean, there are a handful of big ones. I think, every coach wants to stand out. Every coach has their own unique special sauce. The coaching industry can feel very saturated, but I've worked with so many of them and they all have their own special sauce. And I think what happens a lot with coaches is they want to stand out. They want to be able to articulate how they're unique and different, but they don't know how. And it's really hard. And sometimes, we end up looking at other people's websites in our industry and kind of going, well, they're doing it. They're saying that, maybe I should say that, or they're doing this, I should do this. And what I really like to do is like, let's just stay in our own lane. Your story is inside of you. It's not invented outside of you. We mine for gold in your own heart. And that is, we focus on you and really get into the nuances of your story, but also the way that you work that is different from everybody else. And that's all I know how to uncover that information. I know the questions to ask, and I have a very streamlined process that's really fun for me and for the coaches that I work with. And what bubbles up to the top is a lot of confidence that was in there, but just not identified when you have the words to talk about what you do. But also, part of our work is identifying like your process infographic. What are the ingredients that you bring together that no other coach can replicate? And how can we create a visual around that really that you can really hang your hat on and feel confident that is really unique to you, that when a potential client sees it and resonates with it, they get it, and then you can pull that graphic up on your sales calls and talk people through what it is really that you do and why it's so special and unique.
I love that. Really gets you into that place of, the unique niche, right? Right. Like you're the only one in that category that can do exactly that.
Yes.
And then you're attracting the only dream clients that you're really placed, meant, guided to work with.
Yes.
It's like an amazing matchmaking service, right?
I've never heard it said that way, but it totally is. It is.
Yeah,
This is digital matchmaking. It's
I
beautiful.
love that. I
Yeah.
love that. That's so
Yeah.
cool. Wow, Kris, we have covered a lot. I feel like we're almost finished, but it feels like there's a question I haven't asked you, and I don't know what it is. Is there something in what we've talked about that you feel like we need just a little bit more about that, or there's something we just haven't covered?
Yeah. Yeah, I do actually. And this I think is going to be really relevant for your listeners. So, I'm a big believer in turning your website into your top sales employee. It has the potential to work for you in that way and do the heavy lifting for you so you can focus on the coaching work that you love. Nobody becomes a coach to become a part-time marketer. All the coaches that I work with, they just want to coach. They just want to help their clients. They don't want to have to worry about keeping their pipeline full and attracting clients. They want things set up on autopilot to do that work for them. And a lot of coaches are on Instagram and online and kind of looking at the environment around them professionally and thinking, oh my gosh, I have to be everywhere all the time and doing that, like podcasting, posting on social, networking events. It's just like Facebook ads. Like it can be very, very overwhelming to try and be everywhere as one person. And it's the recipe for burnout, honestly. And the way I like to think of marketing, because I'm a very much a less is more person. Like, how can we do the most minimal amount of work to get your marketing engine working for you so you can focus on the work that you do? And I like to think of your website. If you imagine the solar system, right? The sun's in the middle, that is your website. And then you've got all these planets kind of circling around. And the planets could be anything, any kind of marketing activity. Like I said, podcasting, it could be networking events, it could be making YouTube videos, whatever it is, like video. Each of those are planets. And instead of having to be doing every planet, pick one or two planets that you love. And on those one or two planets, you just point people back to your website, knowing that it's going to be converting for you. So if you like posting on LinkedIn, post on LinkedIn, point people back to your website. If you don't like posting on LinkedIn or Instagram, don't do that. I don't. I took the last year off of Instagram. I set my Instagram up to work for me on autopilot, but I I don't post on Instagram because that's not something I enjoy doing. The planet that I've really leaned into is podcasting. I love having conversations like these and email marketing. I love keeping in touch with my list. Those are my two planets. That's all I do. And then when I'm doing the work in those planets, I point everything back to my website and it does that work for me. And it's very liberating when I talk with coaches and share this approach with them. They're just so relieved. Oh my gosh, I get to choose my planets. I only have to choose two. And then my website's going to be working for me and it's such a gift. It's truly life-changing.
Yeah. That, as you're describing that, what I'm hearing in your voice, and I'm also feeling it as well, is like you, you can just relax, right? Like it's
Yes.
like you're just decompressing. You're intentionally making those choices, and the things that you're doing are things that you're really led to do. But also, you know that all the pieces are set up in a way to really support you and work for you instead of this massive posting 5 times a day and dancing over here and like b-roll there. Like it feels so frantic, and
Yes.
I know that when I feel frantic, it is not a good business building mode for me. It just makes me feel frantic, and then people feel frantic around me, and that just backfires, right? So just what you've
Right.
described is really, really helpful. I'm so glad I asked that. Like I knew there was something, but I didn't know what the something was. Nice. So, Kris, we've talked, I've learned, you've given me lots to think about, and obviously the listeners as well. Tell us, how can we find out more about you?
Well, go to the center of my marketing universe, that sun, which is my website. It's reddoorstories.com. That's reddoorstories.com. When you go there, you can get that freebie, which is how to write compelling copy in 5 minutes flat. That will change the lens at which you look at your business and talk about your business. I also have a book available on the website. You're welcome to purchase that. There's an audio version of it available as well. But everything about me is on the website. I also invite your listeners to book a free money making messaging call with me. I offer 40 minutes on these calls to talk with you, to get a sense of what you're struggling with. We look at your website together. We kind of identify where are what's the story you're telling and where do you things need to be tuned up. So either way, it's, you walk away with a lot of insight.
Wonderful. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. This was an episode. I told you it was going to be exciting and you would learn a lot. I'm so thankful that Kris was here. And you guys make sure you check out her website, check out her son, and find out all the wonderful things that you can do. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be back next episode.